It's my pleasure to have back on the show Randy Carpenter. He's CEO of Nexit. If you recall from a few weeks ago, Nexit is a very unique navigation app that doesn't just focus on the destination, but on the journey itself and saving you money in the process. Randy is back for a deeper dive on Nexit, which is spelled Nexit. Hi, Randy. Good to chat with you again.
Hey, Mark. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great. Before we dive into some new features of Nexit that we'll get to, please give our listeners a high-level summary of Nexit. Nexit 101, if you will, in case they missed the interview from a couple of weeks back. What is the app all about?
Sure. Thank you, Mark. Nexit is a mobile navigation app that integrates voice-activated turn-by-turn driving directions, but it allows the user to customize and personalize preferences all along the journey. We use multi-search, multi-layered options. For example, you're driving down the road and you want a Hampton Inn under $150 with an indoor pool and an exercise room. So right there, we've hit brand, amenity, price, right? So the multi-search, multi-layer. Let's keep going. Let's say we want a steakhouse, McDonald's with an indoor playland for the kids, a gas station with a car wash. Your wife needs something from the pharmacy. Kids want a bowling alley.
That's a busy road trip, Randy.
as many as you want, right? You can just keep layering and layering. By the way, you can book the hotel right on the app. So Nexit will show you where all of these occur at the same exit. Or you can integrate the stops all along the way, however you choose. Now, the second point is it's relevant to your route. It's not in a radius. It's not behind you. It's not beside you. So that's the Nexit high-level view. It's about customization and relevance.
All right. So for some other navigation apps, if you say, I want to go to, say, McDonald's, because that's what the kids are asking for, it may show you one that you have to turn around to access. That's sort of the issue, right, with some of these other apps.
Yes, they show you typically in a radius.
Right.
So it's not relevant to where you're going. A lot of people that we have talked to share their frustration with seeing, I think I mentioned last podcast, someone was using another app and they asked for Chick-fil-A and they said, it's so frustrating because every time we ask for a Chick-fil-A, it's always 20 miles behind me. So that's a key point, the relevance to your route.
And speaking of driving, Randy, I know one of the features of Nexit is finding the cheapest gas as well. And let's face it, the timing couldn't be better. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely, Mark. This is a topic that's certainly on the minds of everyone as prices are the highest they've been in 7 years, and they're expected to go higher. So there are a lot of apps that will tell you the price, again, in the radius around you or in a particular city. And we do that as well. In fact, we highlight the cheapest gas in your area so you don't have to go through a list and compare. But the big difference is when you are on the road. So imagine traveling down the interstate at 65 miles an hour. An app that gives you prices in a radius around you while you're on the move, it's not a lot of help at the moment. So Nexit will show you by default the cheapest gas per exit all along your journey, the entire way. You can literally do a trip from Seattle to Miami and see the cheapest gas prices per exit across the entire country in real time. In addition, we also show you a rolling cheapest gas in the next 50 miles banner along your entire trip. But Mark, you wouldn't believe the variance of prices in just a few exits. Some of my friends literally sit around and do trip plans on Nexit and have a competition to see who can find the biggest variance in a 5-exit span. They get really competitive at it. The record so far is 42 cents a gallon.
No, that's a big difference when you're
Think
filling
of that.
up.
I've talked to so many people about their driving experiences, and every single one of them has told me that they have that shared experience of pulling over to get gas and then seeing it much cheaper just a few miles down the road.
Yeah. Frustrating. That irks my wife for sure.
It's really not about the money. It's about the principle, right? And With
No, it's
Next,
about the money.
well,
I know what you mean, but I mean, look, that's a big difference. For example, if you're filling up because
it
you're on a road trip, so presumably you're not just topping up, but you're filling up. That can make a big difference. That's taking
absolutely
money out of your pocket.
with Nexit, problem solved.
All right, so we've already sort of hinted at some of the key differences between Nexit and some of the more, let's call them established mapping apps that have been around for a few years. We've talked about the fact that it only gives you recommendations along your route. So you're on the freeway, you're on the interstate, it'll say the next exit or the next exit after that. Maybe that's where you got your name from. As well as finding the cheapest gas. You don't have to open up another app like, let's say, a Gas Buddy or something. Are there other advantages to Nexit over some of these other mapping or navigation apps?
Yeah, we really, if you think about it, we're at an inflection point in mapping. Google, Apple, Waze, they've done a really great job at establishing the importance and usage of mapping apps. I mean, 67% of people use a mapping app at least once a month, and most once a week. So everybody's using mapping apps. But if you look at any industry, as audiences scale up, customization always is required. It's the nature of a dynamic market. Take just quick example I like to use is television. At first, there were 3 channels, and that was it. And as audience and usage scaled up, you saw color TV, then public broadcasting, then HBO, then cable, then specialty channels. We got weather, cooking, fishing. So we're kind of at that same point in mapping. Now that everyone uses maps, more customization is what the market always looks for. And that's what Nexit is, obviously. I read a report recently about how and why people use the mapping app they use. And the reasons were all about directions, navigation, etc. And there's no surprise there because that's the focus, right? They do a great job at that, but nothing about customized content. And that's what Nexit is all about, customization. We like to say all other mapping apps are about driving, and Nexit is about stopping. But really, it's so much more than stopping. As we said, customization and relevance. Remember the customization we just talked about, the Hampton Inn, the indoor pool, et cetera. And the relevance, it's only on your route. So the mapping audience is ready for that inflection point of customization. And these are some of the innovations that are unique to Nexit, with many more in the pipeline.
Now, I'm going to ask you about those in a moment. We are chatting with Randy Carpenter. He is CEO of Nexit. This is a navigation app for iPhone and soon Android, if I'm not mistaken, that will help you not just get from point A to point B, leveraging satellites above the earth, as well as some data on Nexit servers that you would download, maybe before you hit the road to, to identify where you want to stop and when. And then together on your iPhone screen, then you can get all the directions that you need and all the stops along the way while safely with your hands at 10 and 2 or 3 and 6. I can't remember what is the recommended way now because it changed when I was younger. It was 10 and 2 with your hands on the wheel. Now my kids who are younger who are now driving say, no, Dad, it's now 3 and 6. So anyhow, that's besides the point. So Randy, what are some of the features that you're rolling out for Nexit? I'm sure our listeners would be interested to be one of the first to know about these next generation features. And what's your vision for Nexit, say in 2022, 2023, as we get to that critical mass, that inflection point that you've talked about?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let's talk about the vision. I mean, Nexit will be your platform for all your needs on the move. We're talking driving, walking, highway, city, it doesn't matter. An increasingly personalized experience. We talked about multi-search, multi-brand, multi-amenity. That's just the beginning. Multi-car. That's coming with Nexit Convoy mode. Book the hotel, pay for the gas, order ahead, use the coupon, get your discounts for your memberships from the phone in your pocket to the dashboard to the wrist. Contextual suggestions in real time. It's all about saving money, saving time, and more discovery. Just overall a more meaningful experience. Nexit is the best blending of user preference, contextual relationships, and brand promotion. Whether you're saving the 42 cents a gallon that we talked about earlier by having that information along the way, or knowing, my personal favorite, knowing the hot light is on at the local Krispy Kreme, to having to having brands bid on delivering your pizza. Nexit will live where you live and is going to be a convenient, valuable, and fun part of your life. Now, that's just a small sneak peek at where we're going. And of course, in the near term, you're correct. Android, CarPlay, Android Auto, and a few other surprises are right around the corner. We're working on them now.
All right. And you said also to your wrist. So not only will Nexit show up on your dashboard through CarPlay and Android Auto, if you are an Android user, maybe you've got a Google Pixel or a Samsung Galaxy device or something, we'll look forward to that in the future. Now, you mentioned memberships earlier. Can you talk a bit about that?
Sure. It's interesting. I'm a member of several large associations that you would know of, as well as several more loyalty programs. And in a lot of cases, it is a challenge to even know and or keep track of the benefits that the users have from these programs. And in addition to that, most of them are all missing the on-the-move, real-time aspect. So we see some real benefit to integrating this into Nexit, so members of these groups can discover what benefits they have and utilize the discounts. Real time equals real meaning. Everybody wins. Nexit user gets integrated access to all the deals they may never know they had. The membership groups and loyalty programs get happier users. The sponsors get increased traffic and sales, which leads to more members and more discounts and more sales. So it's a positive upward spiral for everyone.
Can you give me an example of a membership that you may have that could be integrated through Nexit?
Sure. I mean, I won't mention a specific one that we're working on, but we've signed up a couple already, but it's people like from an AARP or a AAA to a Kroger's and a Target. So it's loyalty groups, it's large membership groups, it's associations that have a lot of users and they have benefits. And, sometimes it's more difficult for the users to understand what benefits they're getting. And obviously, if they don't understand, they can't take advantage of them.
Okay.
So it's those type of associations that like I said, we've got a couple that we're signing. We've actually signed up a couple already, and we're talking to a bunch of them. So they're very excited about this aspect of Nexit in terms of their particular discounts and their programs.
Right. And if personalization and customization are a key pillar to Nexit, this all makes sense to integrate your membership information as well. So we'll have to have you back on the show when you're ready to announce some partners.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Now, also earlier, Randy, you did also say that Nexit was a platform. You didn't refer to it so much as an app. So you do work with brands to customize Nexit. Can you talk to us a bit more about that?
Absolutely. What we've talked about so far is the user, but what about the partners and the brands, the membership groups, et cetera? So Nexit it's quite an extensive platform. We've built the infrastructure for multiple applications to be developed upon. So we built the tech stack to include custom analytics, APIs, behavioral and product analytics, things like that. But it's built to be equally valuable to brands reaching a targeted audience at the point of purchase in real time. I mean, they're driving right by, right? What a captive audience. But, and this is the big key, not in an intrusive way, in a value-added way for the user. What's important to them at the right time, at the right place. But it's always with the user permission and privacy in mind, always. So we see an exciting future for Nexit partners, whether it be users, members, or advertisers, but always keeping the Nexit user at the top of that list. Whatever is best for them, that's a choice we will always make.
Before we wrap up, Randy, with other navigation apps, when you glance at the screen, when it's safe to do so, you might see, estimated time of arrival. You'll see kind of like an overhead view of where you are, but with all the stops in mind that Nexit offers, deals on gas and, restaurants that you've identified or hotel chains, do you see like little logos on the map? Like, because it's radio, maybe you can describe what it looks like to use Nexit.
Sure, that's a great question. Now, remember, there's kind of two aspects. You can do pre-planning from your couch. Let's say you're going on a trip in 2 weeks, so you can really put in your destination and origin, and then really start building your trip, like I talked about earlier, the Hampton Inn,
Sure.
et cetera, with the indoor pool and the exercise room. So you'll see the pins. What's so neat? You'll see all the pins along your route, right along the highway, right along your route.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you start customizing, the pins start disappearing, and only the pins, as you're building what you want to see, will show on your screen. So you may start out, let's say, Ashland to Atlanta is a 400-mile trip, and there may be 80 exits. You'll see 80 pins, right? So now as I start to customize, the pins go down and down and down to the point where you may only see 5 or 6 exits on the route with the logos that you've picked.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the planning part, right? So you can really have fun and play around with that on an iPad or an iPhone. But let's say if you're just driving, right? So you've got the screen. Obviously, you've got the little blue dot, which is you, and it moves. And you will see the banner at the top that shows you the cheapest gas the next 50 miles. And you'll typically, depending upon where you are, you'll see 3 or 4 exits on your route, and they will show you the cheapest gas at those exits. So you can see that at a glance. And you also will see 3 or 4 logos of representative brands at that exit. Obviously, that's not all of them. And those are a random assortment right now. At some point, those may be paid placements or what have you, and also think about the membership programs we talked about earlier, Mark. Well, there you go. Their discounts are going to be right there, integrated into your trip.
What if you realize you need gas and you didn't expect to need it so fast for whatever reason? Do you use your voice to ask to find you a gas station that you're maybe a member of, a rewards card or something, or the cheapest gas? It's safe if you're driving to use your voice.
Yes, absolutely. You just touch the little microphone button and you can ask for the gas with your card. Let's say you have Shell or Exxon. But what's interesting is you can say, I need an Exxon station, but I also want a Big Mac. So there may be 3 Exxons in the next 10 miles, but only one that has a McDonald's beside it.
Got it. Understood. Okay. So as we wrap up, Randy, how do we get going? What should our listeners do to test drive Nexit?
Absolutely. You can download the free Nexit app from the iOS App Store. That's for iPhone and iPad. And like we said, Android is in the works and coming very soon.
All right. Nexit, Nexit. You'll find it at the App Store. It's a free download. You can also load it to your iPad, not just your iPhone as well, for those who prefer that device. And coming soon, Android. And we're going to have you back on the show again, Randy, to talk about some of the additional features and when you've got some partnerships to announce. So thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure. It's always great chatting with you. And I really do encourage our listeners to check out Nexit. It's an amazing navigation app, especially as we head into Thanksgiving travel and all that. You should definitely have that loaded on your phone. Thanks again, Randy.
Thank you, Mark. It's always nice to be with you.